What's up, ladies and gents, Kknowley here. Welcome back to another Payday video. This is the big one. The weapons rebalance beta is now live. You guys can get out there and try it for yourselves. It's a huge set of changes to hopefully rebalance the game and overall make it a more fun and varied experience in the long run. It's going to be running all weekend long, so sadly not for as long as we would have liked, but that means it's going to be an iterative beta, so we're going to get lots of different versions, a lot of small tweaks, and I think the idea is this beta is going to move along as quickly as possible, driven by community feedback, and it's going to get into the live client as soon as Overkill can possibly release it, because I do believe there's some paid content on its way from the City of Gold, and they would like to get it out before then, I would imagine. So expect this beta to be moving quickly. You want to get in there as soon as possible to try it out. If you do want to download this and give it a go, it's incredibly simple. All you have to do is head on over to your Steam library, go over to Payday, right-click, Properties, then head on over to the Betas tab and download the open beta. It really is that simple. All your progress from playing within the open beta will apparently be saved over to the live client. It's just like you're playing on live, just with a bunch of weapon tweaks and a brand new mechanic, which I cannot wait to discuss with you in greater detail. So that mechanic is the damage range multipliers mechanic. This is huge. It's the first time in Payday for a very long time we've had a lot more numbers to crunch. And just to make things a little more confusing for us, we don't have all the details yet. I've been doing a lot of testing on my own to get some sort of preliminary thoughts together and to try and find which weapons are actually going to make the most of this change, or which ones are really going to suffer as a result of it. But we don't have all the numbers. It really is going to be a matter of feel. That's how Overkill wants us to test it, so I'm not going to go into great detail about that, but I will discuss it a little more thoroughly with some easy to understand explanations and examples from weapons that I've been talking about a lot recently. So keep in mind the 203.1 changes, which I've been raving about being a little bit too powerful. A lot of those have been reverted and sort of rebuffed in different ways. For example, the Contractor no longer has the extra damage as far as I can tell, which is a positive change. I would say the Contractor was just inexplicably overbuffed. It was a bunch of ideas thrown at us like I thought it would be to see what sticks, and they're just keeping one of those, and that's actually, I think they're additionally buffing the fire rate on it. So just an example of some of the changes we should expect within this beta. But like I say, let's focus on the main thing. This is a huge change. Damage range multipliers. What's the idea behind this concept? Well, really it is to nerf particular weapons that were too good at everything, and also force weapon classes to work in a more distinct playstyle. Shotguns are the basic and most easy to understand examples. They were way too good at every range. Because of how pellets worked in Payday 2, instead of it being each pellet did separate damage, if a single pellet hit, you'd be doing maximum damage, meaning if you could just clip lots of enemies from massive range, you'd be one-shotting them across the map with weapons that really are not designed to work like that, right? So that was problematic, and shotguns pretty much have dominated the meta since day one. Now with this change, you can still land those shots, but you're going to be doing 50% less damage, or up to 50%. There's no consistent algorithm here. Different weapons have been approached differently to try and make them more distinct within the class as well, which I like that. It's not just like, okay, shotguns are now just your close range specialists. Yes, generally that is going to be the case, but some are going to drop off a lot later, and you're still going to be basically a sniper shotgun wielder. And what that's actually going to do, it's going to bring in a lot of weapons that weren't in the meta a little bit closer, or give them a more distinct niche within the category. So I think it's a well-targeted nerf to things that were problematic. But by that same logic, shotguns will be nerfed over certain ranges. They're also going to be buffed up close and personal. So up to 30% additional damage means that other weapons that maybe, again, weren't in the meta, other shotguns that were close but just didn't quite hit one-hit kill ratios they needed to on certain difficulties, now they'll be able to, within, say, 5 to 10 meters. So if they're being played right, new shotguns may well enter the meta. So shotguns as a class have been generally nerfed, but actually what we're hopefully going to see is more variety within the class, and it will still stay viable. Not as overpowered or consuming, but definitely still powerful. And I like that. I think it's a great way to balance the game, and I think some of the things that have been highlighted by Overkill to differentiate weapon archetypes, yes, that's very clear. To expand the pool of viable weapons, again, yes, even within the archetypes. Establish new playstyles with these weapons. Of course, some shotguns, like I said, will do better over range. In terms of these ranges, by the way, it's very inconsistent. The weapons are being sort of separated into categories, so obviously shotguns is a category, but even within shotguns, they're being separated further. So for example, the semi-autos, which were notorious, particularly the ISMA, for having ridiculously high DPS and being possibly the best weapon in the game, that works differently. It actually has drop-off immediately after 1 meter. Up to 1 meter, it's going to be doing huge maximized damage, more than what it says on its base damage, but actually as we fall back to about 10 meters distance, it will be doing increasingly reduced until you're doing the standard ISMA damage, and then from there on in, after 10 meters, you're going to be doing massively reduced after 10 to 15. Basically, anything closer than near, than 50 meters, sorry, is considered relatively near, but 5 meters is going to be where you're going to be doing that bonus damage I mentioned, and then everything higher than 30 is going to be considered far, and that's where you're going to be doing that bonus damage. Like I say, not every weapon works the same, but that is the general idea. I've done a little bit of testing with it so far, and actually I think now might be a time to take a proper look at how this is affecting certain weapons. So first things first, let's look at a shotgun. This is the Rhinefield 880, which does 94.5 damage with just the Fast and Furious perk equipped. Between about 5 and 14 meters, it will deal exactly that much. At a range closer than 5 meters, it will do 123 damage, about a 30% increase. However, at 15 meters and up, it will rapidly fall off, dealing only 49 per shot, just under 50% less than usual. So we can see 5 meters and below is its ideal range, and I think 5 from 15 and above will deal less than standard. This is indicated by a smaller or larger hit marker. Now for another weapon, the M308, which is set up to deal 168 damage. Between 1 and 2 meters it does exactly that, but between 20 and 30 meters its damage gradually increases, all the way up to 253 per bullet, a 50% increase. No matter how far you go beyond that, you will always do at least that much damage. So it's clear someone on Overkill loves the M308 because I haven't found a range at which it loses damage, which is crazy. Snipers work just like reverse shotguns, reduce close range damage, increase long range, and of course not all weapons within a category work the same. Even if they say they're near style weapons, low damage SMGs get a small damage bonus up close, whereas high damage SMGs drop off a lot slower, a trade-off between the two and good inter-class balancing. This will definitely make adding future weapons easier for Overkill and is a highly functional system. But I'm sure this will have broken some weapons, so keep your eyes peeled. There's no way everything makes it through this beta without a nerf. So you might anticipate that would be enough for one beta already. Every single weapon in the game is changing, they'll all feel different today than they did yesterday. That's a lot for us to test and for us to get back to Overkill on, but they have decided to also do some micro adjustments, particularly for the weapon categories that were a little bit unwieldy in the past, to make them more usable, make more people want to use them and test them out and try out all these general changes overall. So things like the DMR change we saw to the M308, that change is being added to all DMRs, so the Gallant, the Gravity 9mm, the Little Friend. All big changes, very similar to the M308 change, which you already know was already enough to push it into the overpowered category, so these are the ones that we want to keep a close eye on. That's an ammo pickup increase from 1 bullet to approximately 2 to 3 bullets. These are all rough changes, none of the specifics are really given here. You're going to have to try out each weapon individually to see exactly what the change is like and how it has affected them, but just generally speaking, this is a buff to DMRs. DMR kits as well for assault rifles getting that same treatment from 1 bullet to approximately 2 to 3 bullets. That's going to massively increase their ammo sustain. Medium damage assault rifles have their ammo pickup increased from between 1 to 7 to approximately 4 to 6. This is a confusing one because this is a tightening of the spread, but generally I think this is a buff to assault rifles, though medium damage assault rifles were already okay, I think, as far as weapon categories go. Medium damage light machine guns are having their ammo pickup decreased quite sizably, and so are high damage light machine guns. So in general, light machine guns are seeing nerfs to their ammo pickup rate across the board. I agree with that. Their ammo pickup rate was way too high. This is the first LMG nerf we've seen, including some of the changes, I guess, to the damage range multipliers. Not sure that's hit the LMGs overly hard, but yeah, the ammo pickup rate, this is a good change. This means they are closer to being sort of bullet-to-bullet efficient instead of overly efficient, meaning you could spray all over the place. And the underbarrel of the Little Friend is receiving a nerf to its ammo pickup rate, roughly a 50% nerf. That's going to hurt the Little Friend, that we've already said has been buffed in other ways. It's interesting. I think the Little Friend was very good. It wasn't a very good assault rifle. It was a very good grenade launcher, and they're nerfing the part of it that was very good. But it was an okay assault rifle. It just really struggled on the ammo side, and we're seeing a few changes to that. So the Little Friend is probably the most confusingly changed weapon. I've got it in terms of category as a plus-minus weapon. I really can't tell whether it's been nerfed or buffed. We're going to need some time with that. Other weapons that are being changed outside of ammo, the LMGs. Recoil behaviors being changed. So light machine guns are receiving new recoil behaviors. Generally, this is a nerf to light machine guns from what I can tell. They are kicking a lot more. Means that the bipod is increasingly going to become necessary, or you're just going to have to use LMGs like close range weapons. Assault rifles are receiving new recoil behaviors, so AMR-16 and the Tempest. I think this is a buff. I think the recoil is being reduced on them. The sniper rifles in the low damage category, the Lebensauger, the Contractor, just like we saw with the Contractor buff, and the Grom receiving some reduced recoil, which is good. That's probably to balance out some increased fire rate, which I'll talk about in just a second. And the Mark 10 SMG, we already know that has a reduced recoil pattern. Now, moving on to fire rate, the low damage snipers, like I said, they've all had their fire rate increase from 160 to 240. They decided to knock off that massive Contractor buff of 200 damage and instead just look at the fire rate for all three of these weapons. I think this is a fairer change across the board. Well done Overkill, they definitely listened and noted that the Contractor change was too much, although they have further buffed its fire rate, so who knows, it might still just be more powerful overall. I'll have to spend some more time with that. Low damage pistols are having their fire rate increased, medium damage pistols having their fire rate increased, and high damage pistols having their fire rate increased. So basically pistols and revolvers across the board are seeing fairly large buffs in this patch, which is good. I think they had definitely fallen off in terms of the what the meta required, and I'd like to see the pistols come back because they were always one of the more fun precision playstyles in the game. Moving on to total ammo changes, these are predominantly aimed at akimbo submachine guns, just like the MP40 in 203.1. We're seeing increases to total ammo capacity for all akimbo submachine guns across the board, low damage, medium damage, and high damage, although I think this is going to be most impactful for the high damage ones. We'll have to see. Things like the Krinkovs that were already performing really well in certain builds, receiving a buff. That's interesting to see. I expect to see some builds coming out for those. The Little Friend is also receiving, like I said, yet another buff just to confuse me as to whether this is going to be better overall or not. Increase from 40 bullets, which was incredibly low, up to 60 bullets. This is a big increase in capacity, and with the fact it can actually pick up ammo now, the Little Friend might just be a functional assault rifle from now on. Who knows? In the past, it has just been an underbarrel grenade launcher, and that grenade launcher will still be there, so we'll have to see. The grenade launcher was good enough to carry this weapon on its own. I really don't know whether that nerf will hurt more than this buff. It's a very confusing change. Damage, the only weapon that's had its damage changed is the Shimano 88, which has just had it pushed up from 35 to 37. This is actually just to keep it in line with the low damage pistols in the game already. Range being changed on some weapons, that includes specifically shotgun special ammo. So range is already something that we've obviously taken a big look at with the multiplier, but now special ammo types for shotguns will no longer affect the range at which the weapon is effective, so that's Flechette and Dragon's Breath. Dragon's Breath is the big one there in terms of the meta. High explosive round special ammo for shotguns have their range boost decreased from 70% to 40%, so no longer can you snipe with those explosive rounds. You probably still can, but not as effectively, and the AP slug special ammo is having its maximum range boost decreased from 250 to 115. This is probably also to be in line with the changes they've already made to the damage range multipliers. So we are seeing some nerfs to special ammo types. I don't really think this is where the shotguns need to get focused down, but I do think with the changes already in place to the range multiplier, shotguns may be in a better place, a more balanced place after this, and more shotguns may well be viable, which is exactly what we like to see. Now, a few comments just to end this section. I want to mention what I think is going to be very powerful. So the things that have generally been buffed are DMRs, ARs, low damage snipers, pistols, and akimbo SMGs. The weapon that I am very confused about, I've already mentioned it, is the Little Friend assault rifle. That has been very much plus minus. It's got some buffs, it's got some nerfs. My first thought is that the underbarrel being nerfed means it's probably going to be an overall nerf, but in terms of variety with that weapon, actually being able to functionally use it as a rifle, that's definitely been buffed. So maybe it'll just be a damn good rifle now with the possibility for firing the odd grenade. Who knows? It does look like it's been changed in a very confusing way, so it's going to need some time for us to work out exactly what they've done with it. In terms of nerfs, LMGs have been nerfed across the board. They're a lot harder to control now, and they do pick up a fair bit less ammo, but they've already picked up too much ammo, so I think it's a bit of a fair nerf. And also, shotguns. Most shotgun ammo types have been nerfed, and they also look most likely to have been nerfed by the changes in the damage range. I have an unknown category, so these are weapons that have been affected somewhat by these changes, but we don't know whether they're much worse or better. SMGs is one I've got in here. I do think SMGs generally feel a little bit worse. I liked using SMGs as quite long-range weapons if you got them with that laser beam accuracy and stability. For example, the AK Gen 21 I've been loving. It feels a little weaker in this patch, but I'm not certain. Medium to high damage snipers, pretty much unknown. They do have more damage drop-off at close range, and remember that Payday is generally a close range game. It's hard to keep distance, so it looks like they might have been nerfed, but again, who knows, they will now do more damage across the map, which could be big. And akimbo pistols, who knows what's happened with them. It's very unclear whether they've received buffs or nerfs, or whether they're just going to be in the exact same place they were before. Now, in terms of top pick weapons to try out, first on my list, give the little friend a go. This has probably received the most buffs and nerfs across the entire patch. It's going to feel very different now. Please try that out first. Other weapons that I'm going to personally be trying out as soon as possible include the Lebensauger 308. I want to see how that matches up with the Contractor, the Shimano 88, which finally is, you know, within the low damage category instead of being in its own category, the lowest damage category for pistols, and has also received the fire rate buff, so I will be trying that out at some point. And the DMR kit ARs. My personal theory right now, going to go out on a limb and say this might be the way the meta goes, although I haven't tested it, it's just how it looks to me on paper. I do have a feeling that the DMR kit ARs may again spring up to the top of the meta, and that sort of playstyle will rule for the next few months, or at least until next week's beta, if they continue to release the betas every weekend. We'll see. So I recommend you go out there and give them a go. This beta is only on for a short period. Like I said, it's easy to get involved with. You can play with your friends online to test out these weapons. I will more than likely be streaming it this weekend as well. I know it's been a long time since I had a stream, so look forward to that if you're a regular attendee. And let me know what you think about these changes. I think that Overkill have gone about this the right way. Instead of just approaching statistics, trying to create new mechanics is just what Payday needs right now, and something to accentuate playstyles. I'm really excited and looking forward to play around with this beta a lot more. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I'll see you all very soon. As ever, thank you very much to my Mean Infamy patrons and above. If you want to join that infamous club to see yourself in the credits or get early exclusive access to my videos, including the story videos, check out my Patreon link below. Remember, the Discord is open to all if you crave some more Payday discussion. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you all very soon for the next one.